It's now 7 o'clock. Let me call to order tonight's planning board meeting of the town of Merrimack of today, August 16th, 2022. The next meeting will be the 6th of September, 2022 at 7 o'clock in this room, the Matthew Thornton room. Before we move forward, let me make sure to let anybody who speaks, members of the public, to please speak clearly, introduce yourself, name, address, and tell us what you have on your mind. Before we move any further than that, we have a few alternates that we need to appoint. Nelson, I'm going to put you in a voting member position for Bob. Maureen, I'm going to put you in for Lynn, Ms. Christensen. And Halim, I'm going to put you in for Neil. Casey, did you get all that? Yes. Okay. Okay, with that taken into. We now have the Planning and Zoning Administrator's report. Casey, do you have anything for us?
Nothing at this time.
Nothing. Thank you. That brings us then to the consent agenda. Get that out real. On tonight's consent agenda, I believe we only have one item. Following project, which has been contingently approved by the planning board. It has been reviewed by staff, the request listed below, and the staff recommends the following extension. Grant a conditional approval extension request for the Brady Sullivan Properties project located at 1 Innovation Way. That would be case number Planning Board 2022-26 for an additional 6 months. That will set the clock to expire. Excuse me? Yes. Is that on? It is on. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's not. There he goes. That should be better. Okay, so back to the consent agenda. That staff recommends that we grant conditional approval for the extension request from the Brady Sullivan Properties project that is located at 1 Innovation Way. That was case number Planning Board 2022-26 for an additional 6 months. That would make the clock set to expire on February 15th, 2023. Now, with the consent agenda, granted there is only one item, so if anybody wants to discuss it, or we can just move forward and approve the consent agenda as a whole. Do we have any discussion on that item? Yes. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Mr. Disco. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Ms. Healy. Do I have any further discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All abstaining. That's 7-0-0, Casey, for the consent agenda. Moving on, that brings us to item number 4. It's Bowers Landing of Merrimack 2 LLC. This is review for consideration of an amendment to a previously approved site plan to change a proposed clubhouse to a patio. The parcel is located off Bowers Landing Drive in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts. Tax map 1D, lot 001-04. That's case number Planning Board 2022-29. Case, before we get into it, do you have anything to add on this item?
I would like the applicant to make their presentation, but I will butt in as necessary.
Thank you very much. The applicant could please turn on the microphone, introduce yourself, and tell us what you have. Yes, Mr. Driscoll. If we can get, yeah. If MTV in the back could turn on the projector, please. Thank you.
That was kind of funny.
Right.
All right.
Please go ahead.
All right. Good evening. Matt Peterson here with Keach Norris & Associates, representing the site plan modification request tonight for the Bowers Landing Phase 6 project. This was approved. This was the overview of the project. I would assume most members have heard me present this over the last 7 years or so, but there are a few members that probably haven't. So just to give you an understanding of it here, Phase 1 was out where the Dunkin' Donuts and the original apartments are. Phase, 5, we actually call it here, was the 50 units that we did about 5 years ago. The townhomes and stuff like that were phases 2, 3, and 4, and those were done about 2008 10, somewhere in that range there, so 12 years ago now. And this is phase 6 that we're proposing here. On this phase, we basically put a note, number 33 was added on the previous application that said a clubhouse would be installed in this project. We're here tonight to modify note number 33 to state that a patio area, I had said with stamped concrete, I know there's some design things, so I think the final note would just be a patio area and final details to be worked out with homeowners associations if this moved forward. But anyway, planting beds, shade trees, built per the plan entitled Toby Circle, which is what I had submitted to you guys earlier, which was a plan of the changes. Where this is this location right here. This is where we proposed a clubhouse. This would be clubhouse number 3 for this development. There's one out for the main apartments that is out by the Dunkin' Donuts with a swimming pool. There is a second one for the 50-unit single family that we did about 5 years ago. And then this would be the third clubhouse. However, it's kind of been brought to our, this is really not me, and I'm going to let the homeowners kind of bring it to you here. I'm just kind of coaching it for them, but it's brought to us from the majority of the homeowners took a vote regarding clubhouse, which they're allowed to do per their condo association, so it doesn't screw up any legal stuff that my client has with the AG and the state and all that. They took a vote regarding the clubhouse, and the vote was to remove the clubhouse. Obviously, it's a condition of the approval, so we can't just do that. Just so this board understands, things have changed a little bit, I would say, over the last 6 months to a year in the town of Merrimack, where when we do these condo developments now, we are required to do a post-construction meeting. Never done that before. I did the first one the other day with Overlook, which was the Ron DuPont parcel that was there. And the homeowners association, possibly this gentleman here, comes to the meeting with us, with the builder. And we go through all the stuff that was built, and Don gives this gentleman here a list of all the things they need to have inspected, all the reports that they have to produce every year now. The fire department, the clubhouse on that one, Overlook, the alarm system has to be checked every year. There's life safety type stuff that they had to go through. So there's obviously a cost with it. Again, from our standpoint, development standpoint, we presented it with you guys with the clubhouse at that time. We did not have any homeowners in there yet. And that's kind of where we're at here, is kind of have the discussion with the board, get your thoughts on it. I know that cost and use of it is kind of the biggest issue for them. You know, if you've been to this development, I think these homes, I use these homes all over the state right now. I really like this footprint a lot. It fits in very nice. It's got the nice porches, the sunrooms, the front decks. I mean, there's a lot of space around it and stuff like that. So that's why we're here tonight. I'll let Kirk kind of explain how it came down from the home associations, then ask any questions, and obviously got some people in the audience too. So thank you very much.
Great. Do I need to push?
Yep. There you go now.
Great. My name is Kirk Ware. I'm a homeowner in the project and a member of the advisory board that's working with the developer towards a transition in the administration of the property. The board unanimously supports this change, and the vote was taken, and we had a supermajority that voted in favor of this change as well. You know, we support the substitution of a park-like setting with a patio and some landscaping, you know, professionally done, and it would be a place that we would use actively. As far as the clubhouse, we each own, as you can see, individual homes that are of a size that they're more than adequate to our needs for social gathering and social activities, and we just don't see the need for an additional building to support those kinds of activities. And we've observed with other clubhouses around us that they sit empty most of the time. And we do have the availability of, as was mentioned, of another clubhouse within this development, and they've are willing to allow us to use their building for the handful of times where we have meetings that are required for our association. So we would strongly prefer not to have the expense of operating and maintaining a building that we really feel would sit empty the vast majority of the time. And we would, something like this, done right, done well, I think would be used by a lot of the homeowners. People, almost everybody in the neighborhood walks, and this would give us a place to stop and rest and chat and talk to one another, and would be something that would be actively used as opposed to a clubhouse, which would not. So we appreciate your consideration of this change.
Thank you, Mr. Ware. Just before I move on, Mr. Peterson, just so I can, without going through the paperwork right now, the plot that you're looking to put more of a park setting in, the paperwork we have looks like you're looking for more like a concrete patio. I am assuming, but we've seen otherwise with other projects, the concrete patio will not be the same dimensions as the clubhouse would be, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're looking for more of a green space then?
Yes.
Okay. Board members, you can open it up for questions. Mr. Disco, looks like you have a question.
Thank you. I have several questions. How many units are in this development?
66.
Pardon?
66.
65.
66.
65. 65.
65, okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. The people who bought these as part of their purchase price were told there was going to be a clubhouse, right?
Yes.
And so it's not a surprise that a clubhouse should be built here to
No.
people who live there, right?
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
just wanted to sort of verify that. Let me see here. Well, okay. I think what you've proposed is not equal to or comparable to a clubhouse. I live in a planned unit development, in a condo development like this. We have 100 people. We have a clubhouse. It's used at least twice, 3 times a week by different groups in the association. So there are a lot of people that use it, and it's part of our association, part of our way of life. So I think this substitute that's offered, the slab of concrete, is not equal in value or appearance or anything else to what a clubhouse could and should be. So I'm not interested in approving this, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Along that way of thinking, you said there are 2 other clubhouses within the development, correct? Do you know just off the top of your head the distance from where this clubhouse would have been going to where the nearest clubhouse is? And you said the other 2 clubhouses are currently built, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's the patio for this one here.
Mhm.
This building right here is the clubhouse that they were talking about. They've already talked to them to share.
Okay. So
This is part of their development here. This is
Gotcha.
part of their 65, and this is the other part. So it's basically in the middle
Mhm.
of their 2 developments. So if these people were walking up, it would actually be easier for them to get to this one if they were all meeting, and these people to come down this way than to go to this clubhouse here.
Is this in writing somewhere, or is there some agreements, some formal agreements that assures future owners here that they will have access to that?
I assume you guys have that. I have not gotten a copy of that, but if you, was it word of mouth?
It's not been put in writing, no, but
Oh.
they offered it to us. We've met with them. We have overlapping management responsibilities for the common road, and so we collaborate with them, and they're very supportive of us and vice versa. And also, we can, going forward, we're entertaining the notion of using the same, a lot of the same subcontractors and stuff. So we're, they're, you know,
But right now,
We're working with
it's not written anywhere, it's not a permanent agreement of any kind.
This is kind of our first step here, Nelson. If it's something, we could definitely get that in writing
We-
to the board, but this was kind of, I knew where you were going to come from, so I asked them to come forward here first to have this discussion before a lot of money was spent and agreements were put together. So I will say that the other off of Jared's Way here, these are also similar these are all the same units as their 65. So that's why it kind of puts all the same single-family users together.
Casey, would that be able to be put in as a condition of approval? That they receive in writing, that they're able to share it between the two?
I think if the planning board truly wants a clubhouse available for this homeowners association, that they're offering to do a patio instead, I think it would be reasonable to want in writing that they have a clubhouse available at the previous phase in phase 5.
Okay. Do we have any other questions, board members? Ms. Healy, please.
So I have a couple of questions. And my first question is, when these houses were purchased, doesn't the purchase price also include the building costs for the clubhouse, since that is part of the development? The reason I ask this is I've looked at other places, like
Yeah, and they-
especially in Florida, and what they tell you is they're developing it.
Really?
Yeah, you're going to get a clubhouse, and part of that construction cost is already included in the cost of whatever you're buying, because usually clubhouses have amenities in them.
Right.
They have, workout machines, treadmills, other things than just a building.
I would agree. Me and my wife are looking at the Jimmy Buffett ones in the Carolinas, and I would agree that they're huge. So I'm guessing they're probably going to tell me that money is going towards that. These clubhouses that we did, the first one, the 50, and this here, no, I know that they did not put those in the numbers for the clients.
And so my other question is, what happens in 5, 6, 10 years when this group of people have sold and the people are wondering, where's our clubhouse?
Again, they have the legal right, if they have a majority vote, I guess, and this is attorney talk, I'm not an attorney, but supposedly the language is set up with the AG, that this is an avenue they do have as a homeowners association to make changes. So they did it the correct way in their group.
Right.
However, because of a note on the plan, they have to come to you guys. So
Right.
they can make changes in their associations with majority votes that would affect for people 5, 10, 15 years down the road that they're making the votes now.
So what happens on that slab? Is there going to be like a pergola, or is it just going to be a slab? Is it going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yep. At this point here, he's
Some
hired a landscape.
shade.
Right, he's hired a landscape architect. I know that I saw an email today that said it's pavers instead of stamped concrete. The design of it, really, I hadn't got into. I really wanted to hear from you guys on this here. I know that the association's been working directly with the owner who's in the back here to come to this, it hasn't been done separately. So they've been talking together to come together with something that works for both. They're willing to do whatever they want in this area.
Ms. Healy, was that all you had?
Yes, thank you so much.
Maureen, Ms. Tracy, please.
Thank you. So will the HOA fees change if there's a patio versus a clubhouse?
Right now, there's nothing in the budget for utilities, for maintenance, for, upkeep, for licensing, for anything having to do with a clubhouse, so they would go up.
If the clubhouse was built, it
If
would
the
go up.
clubhouse was
Okay,
built.
yeah.
So the HOA fees would go up. My other thought too is regarding an outdoor space that maybe you even had like the concrete had like heat underneath it so that it melted in the winter so people could still utilize it. Maybe a waterfall or even a fire pit or, I don't know, something like that to make it really like a nice attraction. We do have I have a condo down in Massachusetts. It's just a summer one, but I can tell you that nobody uses hardly ever the clubhouse, but they do have these things called pocket parks where people kind of come together. And I have seen a lot of places where people don't use the pools or anything else. So I've seen that as well. So that I guess that's also. So do you know what the cost would be to go up? Like how much the HOA fees would go up?
Boy, it'd be hard to do it off the top of my head, but it'd be substantial. I mean, the upkeep of a building and, I assume there'd be taxes, there'd be,
Oh, yeah.
mainly utilities and just maintaining a structure that's sitting empty and not, actively used. So it would definitely make a, significant difference to the association dues.
Thank you.
Mr. Disco, you have a question?
Yeah, a couple more questions, please. Do the people, is this a unanimous vote of the
No.
people? No. So there are people opposed to it?
There were 13 people that voted against it
Yeah,
out of
okay.
65.
And I think they have a legitimate argument, because I think they bought into a situation where there was a certain amenities included. And I think this slab, as shown in the picture that we have, is nowhere near the equivalent of a clubhouse.
Yeah, it's,
And it just doesn't hack it. And, is this an over 65 community?
No.
it's not age limited,
It's
although
not.
it's primarily,
It's, so as you know, this was designed with the homes with the 2 bedrooms and that to be that, but they can sell them as single-family homes.
Yeah.
It's not age restricted.
It's not
It's designed to be,
yeah.
basically.
So there's a possibility of children in the area, and there's a possibility of having a playground or something for kids to use, as opposed to a concrete slab. It just doesn't equivalent, in my view.
yeah,
Do you have any
the
kids?
notion of this is more of a park, with, there's landscaping proposed, there's a lawn proposed, I think patio is sort of the shorthand name for it, like clubhouse is the other alternative, but it'll be more elaborate, there'll be seating in there, there'll be,
Don't forget, Nelson, I mean, I hear what you're saying, comparable, but I wasn't trying to compare this patio and that to a clubhouse. That was nowhere near trying to say this is the same as that. What I'm saying is, this area here is gonna become a building, like all these around here, or we're gonna have a nice green space in here, which is what the homeowners asked. So I was never saying this is the same as a clubhouse. This is just what they've asked for in this, to not fill in another building in the middle, which gives an opening to the woods, and obviously this is all Pennachuck land back in here. So this will all stay as
The
is.
land drops off quite abruptly.
This is our detention pond back in here. Detention pond's back in here, pump station's over here, there's an access road for the sewer to get over that way there.
Yeah, it
And
looks like there's not enough room on the flat to build the patio you've shown in the sketch. That's just my guess. It's hard to tell.
Oops. I mean, here's where the slope had dropped in the back. So this was a clubhouse that was going in. So you're actually, I did show the patio the same size as the clubhouse that I had said earlier. It wasn't the same size. I did show it the same size of the building. Here's the original clubhouse, and then here's the overview down in here of what I said was where the patio would be.
But it looks like you need to
So
do
see, I
some
put the
fill.
patio in the exact same location as this clubhouse here. And it would sit right on this. So here's the slope.
Yeah, but that's added. That's gotta be,
And-
that's not present slope.
Oh, no, that's present, well, this was proposed, but we've done as-built now. Sorry, I didn't bring the as-built with me, but no, this is all built. This drainage is all in and that kind of stuff there, so yeah. I mean, you might have to do a little shaping up the top here, but they've finished seeding and doing all the kind of stuff that's out there, so yeah, it should be good.
Yeah. Okay. It doesn't look equivalent to me. That's all I'll say. No.
Yep. It's not a 2-story building.
Is that it, Mr. Disco?
Pardon?
Ms. Tracy, was that your last question? I didn't want to cut you off if you were.
No, you didn't, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Ms.
Yeah.
Tracy, please.
Are there any other park areas in that whole complex? I've been back there, it's like a city back there. It's like, whoa, where did this come from? So, there's no other parks or anything like that for children or anything?
not within the project.
And so, this association have access to both other clubhouses?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Does this association have access to both of the other clubhouses?
Just one, we were saying.
Just one?
Yes, the other one is the apartments.
Okay.
Little
Does the other
diff-
one
little
have a
different-
pool?
Yes.
And do they have access to that?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
On the mic.
This is the owner, sorry.
If you just introduce yourself and make sure the mic is on.
I'll just push in here.
Yep, it's on.
It's on right now, yeah.
I'm Dave Folsom. I work for Blom Development Group and project manager on site every day. So just so there's no misunderstanding about access to the clubhouse, they have access to the clubhouse for meetings. And this has kind of evolved over time. These guys have, a lot of people have told us they didn't want a clubhouse. As an alternative, I designed a pavilion that was on the ballot that was, a huge deck the size of the clubhouse that was going to be covered with a roof, half covered with a roof, half open, all wrapped in PVC and everything. The homeowners decided they didn't want that either. And that's when this concept of green space came up. We tried to work it a little bit more so we could do a patio and have a little bit more than just green space there for them. But I didn't want you guys to misunderstand that they have an agreement with the existing association that they can use the clubhouse for meetings.
Ms. Tracy? go
Is
ahead.
that just board meetings?
That's correct. Yep.
So no other meetings?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, condo association meetings.
Just
Board
condo
meetings. Yep.
association meetings, so no other meetings, okay. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Folsom. Yeah, go ahead.
So what other amenities are provided in said other clubhouse? Is it a gym, or is it just strictly like an open space for having meetings?
In the other one that we have access to?
Correct.
It's just a meeting place. It's got a little kitchenette in it, a couple of bathrooms, and
Okay.
a big room, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would the proposed clubhouse that would have been going in here, would it have been pretty much identical, just a meeting place, or would you have had a gym and,
No, it would have been comparable.
okay.
Yeah.
And then at said existing clubhouse, I think there's like 8 or so parking spaces that you are allocating for this new clubhouse that's not going potentially. Is there enough parking, or would there be more parking added to accommodate, more use of the other clubhouse?
No.
Okay.
I think these are sort of overflow spaces. There's some there, and you can see some to the left there, and you can see some to the right. They're just sort of sprinkled around. And, when you have 2-bedroom houses and it's just your family, you got plenty of parking, but when you have a group in or whatever, I think these extra spaces are mainly for that. I mean, that's how we seem to be using them anyways, so, for this area, it's nice to have a few extra spaces, but we certainly wouldn't need any more for any use that we would make of that area.
Sure. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dano. Do we have any other questions, board members, before we move into, just to remind you, this has been already accepted, obviously, as complete, because we've already approved it. So this is literally just us discussing, getting public comment, and then voting to approve it or not. Before we move to public comment, do we have any other questions?
Not at the moment.
Seeing none, the time is currently 7:28. I'd like to open up the room for public comments. Any members of the public that wish to step forward and be heard on this item, please do so now. Sir, please step to the microphone, introduce yourself, name, address, and tell us what you have. It's right there, you go.
Thank you.
If that's dead, you could sit right at the, if one of the,
You want to,
yes.
take my seat down?
My name's Tom Breon. I live at 27 Toby Circle. It happens to be the house right next to the open area that we're talking about there. It was mentioned a few minutes ago, and I think it's kind of gotten glossed over. But be aware that these are full houses, 1,600 square foot houses with another 1,600 foot in the basement. And the majority of us have finished off the basement. So when you talk about a fitness center, for example, the people that want to use a fitness center more than likely already have it in their basement from where they moved before. So that is not a real need. And if you want to have a kid's birthday party or something like that, you've got the house right there to handle that. You don't have to have a clubhouse. And so when we look at the expense of maintaining a clubhouse and the limited amount of use that it would ever get, that's how we came to the vote that we prefer to have an open green space.
Thank you, Mr. Breon. Sir, please step forward. If you could take the seat right on the left, introduce yourself, name, address, and tell us what you have.
I am Roger Price. I live on Townsend, 17 Townsend Place. And I would just like to add that I've been in many associations before, lived in places, and you can always vote to build a building 10 years down the road. It's not like if we don't do it now, some group who lives there could never do it, number one. Number two, I agree with everything the folks that sat here have said. In addition, I just joined the YMCA, which would be less than a half a mile walk from the house, $44 a month for seniors, less money than I would spend supporting the new building. I do support the concept of majority rule, so it seems like more than 2/3 of the people have gone the way of appreciating this open space. And given that we have access to another building, I don't see the need for building yet another one that's going to cost money and be a liability risk as well.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Any other members of the public wish to speak? Ma'am, please.
Kathy Bradfield, and I'm at
Use the
43
microphone.
Toby Circle.
Could you pull the microphone just a little bit closer to you, please? Thank
Kathy
you.
Bradfield, 43 Toby Circle. I really agree with what the other guy said, and we have 685 or 95 square feet in our home without the basement being done, and like he said, most people have the basement being done. We also have a patio place underneath the decks of our home. Some of us don't have that. They walk out into their backyard. They have a deck. There was something. Oh, and if somebody comes down the line to buy the house, to the one statement, 10, 12 years from now, they'll know that there isn't a clubhouse. If they don't want that, they don't need to buy it. I support the green space. I'm a little bit skeptical of the pavilion if it goes because of the liability, somebody hanging on a railing or something, falling off, breaking something. And I do support the majority rules in this case. To have a clubhouse that is not used that much and all the money that goes in it, especially when costs are really getting high for people. I just don't support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bradfield. Do I have any other members of the public that wish to speak? Sir, please.
Hello, my name is John Linehan. I live at 12 Toby Circle. I am not in favor of a town clubhouse. I think it would just be added expense. It wouldn't get used. And again, these are just empty shells of a building for meetings. So if we would have the opportunity to use another building, that would be fine by me. I just think it would be added expense. Our condo fees would go up for no reason. My wife and I walk the neighborhood, and we know that the other clubhouse doesn't ever get used. So why have an empty space that we're going to pay for? And as most people have said, our own homes are big enough. They have 2 car garages, they have driveways, they have 1,400, 1,600 square feet, and some people have finished basements. So there's no need for a clubhouse, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Linehan. Do I see anybody else that would like to speak? Seeing none, time is 7:35. I'm going to close the public hearing.
Did you have something?
Please.
Hi, I'm Lisa Linehan from 12 Toby Circle. And with every due respect, Mr. Disco, when we came and bought the place, we were actually told the opposite, that there would not be any clubhouse. So, which is kind of strange, but we were told there was never going to be a clubhouse. Then it came up about a year ago that they were gonna put it in, and I know that not everyone was told the same thing, but several were told that, so we were under the expectation we were never gonna have to pay for a clubhouse. So, just so you don't think that everyone was like told that they were supposed to. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Do I have any last-minute takers? Not seeing any. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:36. Mr. Peterson, thank you for coming back up. Board members, do we have any further questions for Mr. Peterson? Mr. Disco?
Well, just a comment.
Yes, please.
I don't think the trade-off is comparable. This patio, as proposed in these sketches, just isn't compatible with the rest of this development, which is a nice-looking development, nice-looking homes, and just a concrete pad is not the equivalent of a clubhouse. And I think we should see something more in exchange if we're going to take the clubhouse away. That's my comment, yeah.
Members, anything to add?
So my take on it would be that this looks like a rather dense development. And, you know, having some open space, especially if the majority of the, you know, people that live there are in favor of it, you know, I'd be inclined to go with it, knowing that in the future it could change if they so brought it back before, you know, our board. That's kind of my 2 cents on it, I guess.
Nelson, I do understand what you're saying. It is, I mean, it would be hard to say that a green space is comparable to a clubhouse, yes, but just from speaking from experience and just having 2 young children, if I was to move into an area like this, I would be far more excited to have a green space than, I mean, a meeting room with a kitchenette. I mean, the places I lived in Florida while I was
Or
in
a
school.
playground, perhaps?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It would be far easier to put a playground into a green space than it would be to tear down a clubhouse that wasn't being used and to put a playground. Now, if what you're saying is you'd like to see more detail in the plan as to, instead of just like a big box that says green space, would
Well,
you like to see more detail? Is that what you're?
The plan right now, the sketch that we were given with it shows a concrete slab
Yeah.
and 3 or 4 trees. That's,
So you'd like, that's what I'm saying. So you'd like to see more detail as to
I want
what
to
they
see,
would
yes. I
want to
want
do instead of the
something
clubhouse.
more aesthetic and something more compatible with the neighborhood. Yeah.
Mr. Peterson, I don't know if you or the, or Mr. Ware would like to speak to that?
Again, you know, I was not trying to put something that was compatible. I think, you know, if anybody's, I've been doing this 27 years, you guys have seen me a long time here. I think one of the things we've been doing the last 27 years is doing a lot of environmental good with the eagles that we have, with the wildlife, with the turtles, with all that stuff. I think green space and something like this does make sense. And I would say that just because it's concrete and it's not compatible, I'm sorry, I got people at Fish and Game that tell me the spotted turtle is, you know, extremely viable and I have to give buffers of hundreds and hundreds of feet. So I would disagree a little bit that a green space is not there. I'd also, Mr. Chairman, you said, I didn't realize the other clubhouse was just I mean, it's a meeting room with a kitchenette. A green space is way more usable. It seems like to these people here, again, me and my wife walk around, and when we walk downtown and we get our ice cream, we sit on a bench, we do different things and sit around when it's nice out. So from that standpoint, I mean, we definitely would put together a plan from the landscape architect. These guys would sign off and work it together and stuff like that. We could submit a copy of that to staff if they wanted to see it before it was constructed. But we kind of were hoping to get your feel for which direction tonight at least, and then go from there.
Where I do And that, I believe, Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be a condition of approval anyways, to see for staff to sign off on the final design of the landscaping, correct?
Yeah, so the board can do what they want with that. So the board needs to be clear on what they're looking for. So they can either approve exactly what was written into the plan so far, which the plan states planting beds, shade trees, and stamped concrete. So if it's approved as is, that's what Robert and I will look for on the ground when we sign off. I believe it's just one more CO that this neighborhood needs. If the board is looking for more than that, they can ask for more than that and leave it more vague and leave it to the discretion of town staff to work with the designer to come up with the solution. But if you're gonna go down that road, it needs to be clear in a conditional approval.
Yeah. That's the way I'd like to take it, Mr. Peterson. I don't want to block you in with telling you these are the kind of flowers you have to put. You can't use this type of bench, but I do agree with Nelson that I don't want it to turn into just a plot with the tall grass that you see in some places. And I'm sure that's not what these people were planning on doing anyways, but just being the planning board, that is what we have to do. So, board members, do we have any more input? Before we try to carve up a, yeah.
Emotion.
Please, Ms. Healy.
Yeah, granted, if we say that we're taking out the clubhouse and allowing a green space, I think we're done. I don't think we need to know how many trees they're putting in there, whatever they're putting in there, unless they're actually building a structure in that space. But if they're just putting in, you wouldn't do that for somebody's backyard when you were building a house. So I'm not sure why we would do it here. Just my thought.
Any thoughts on that? Do I hear a motion then?
I have another question.
Ms. Tracy, please.
So would it be possible for somebody to put a swing set if a family moved into their backyard in the condo association? No.
In their backyard, I do not believe that's in the condo.
If it got approved by the board.
Right, they would have to do a majority vote. Right.
I think she means, so the backyard of each individual home is what she's saying.
Yeah, it's all common area.
It's
That's what I
all
thought.
common
Okay.
area. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, board members? So what I believe Ms. Healy is saying is that she would like to just approve it, carte blanche, with no, and I do see that point, if we're not going to make somebody plant certain flowers in their backyard. This is a private street. This is a private street, correct?
Yes.
Casey? Yes.
Private development.
And it's not like, if they build something, if they decide to build something, a structure or some sort that would normally require a building permit, then that's a different story. But if all they're ever going to do is just plant, and it's a green space.
Well, what we have is just a slab of concrete. And
No, it's not, that's not true, Nelson. I mean, your
Well-
plan here showed stamped concrete, planting beds, trees around it, the whole thing. So, I mean, it wasn't just the stamped concrete pad.
I
well,
believe it does call out evergreens. I didn't,
Yeah, there was 8 evergreens, there was planting bed, 2 planting beds, 8 evergreens, and a stamped patio. So substantial.
no shade.
So that's exactly what we'll be looking for.
Yeah.
It is the way it's written in that note, that's what we would be looking for specifically.
Casey, could you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
I'm making this point because I heard that there was still some design ideas floating around, but the note reads stamped concrete, planting bed areas, and shade trees.
Yeah.
So that's what we would be looking for specifically, for them to get their last CO, for that improvement to be made.
Mhm.
So if you're looking for anything less or anything more, the note needs to be changed or a condition needs to be made.
Okay.
with that said, do I hear a motion?
I have one more question.
Ms. Tracy, please.
So, how will the association move to decide what exactly they're gonna put in there? would it be a vote, or would it be, so if somebody says, well, they want, I don't know, some kind of a tree, or, like, how would that move forward?
The board has been working with the developer on the plan, and which has moved us in this direction to this point. You know, I think there's probably a little further refinement that we'd like to do before we finish up, but we're very comfortable working with them and confident that we can come to terms. They've been very flexible with us in terms of asking us, you know, what we wanted generally, and you know, hiring professional people to do the plans and stuff. So we're comfortable with the process internally. If you were to approve this, that we can get to a result that we're happy with.
And how would the whole association, like, vote towards this? So would this be something that you would work out with the developer and then maybe put it up to a vote, or
Typically not.
typically
you know.
not just the board?
Yeah, I mean, we'd certainly be open to anybody's input, but I mean, generally, you know, with the,
I would say it'd be similar to the clubhouse.
Okay,
Come up with a design, you know, at some point you have to execute. And
right.
Well, just to be,
we've been talking about this for a couple of years, so.
just to be clear, Ms. Tracy, if we approve this as they have given it to us tonight, what we see on this page is what will be going in instead of a clubhouse, so.
Right, but
Unless-
they could put more in if
Yeah,
they
and the
wanted to,
planting
right?
beds if they
Like,
would
I'm
put-
talking plants and whatever other
Whatever they
features.
want to put on the slab,
Right.
yes, but the basic of what we're seeing right now, that
Is
will be the
that.
basic slate of what they will
Right.
be installing.
Yeah, okay, thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions? Ma'am, just, I'll answer a question, but the public hearing section is over, but with things like that, that will be up to a contractor, builder. That is not a purview of the planning board.
We can get that information if we move forward tonight. Once we start to be able to contact people to find out what their
Yeah.
timelines are and stuff like that, we could get that information to
And
them.
just for the record, the question was if the residents could get some sort of a timetable for completion of the plan. Anything else to add, board members? So we could grant conditional final approval tonight, given just what they've given us, and that's what they will be building. Whatever kind of additions they want to add, such as things going on top of the granite slab, will be up to them. We could completely deny it, and then whenever they want to build it, they'll be getting a empty clubhouse. Or we could give them some other conditions. Do I hear a motion in regards to those three options? Ms. Tracy?
I'll make a motion to approve the change to what they proposed with the concrete.
Given the conditions in the memo dated,
Yes,
I can get the date off.
August
the top of
11th.
my head. August 11th.
August 11th.
Did you get all that, Casey? So just approving the memo as? Correct. Motion by Ms. Tracy, seconded by Ms. Healy. Do I have any further discussion on the motion? Yes, Ms. Healy.
Casey, just a point of clarification. When we say that it's, final approval and based on conditions, what are the sections of the code that requires them to come back and say to you, yes, we're putting in 4 bushes, 1 tree, a flower bed over here? Is that usually part of the plan? I know we see them on big buildings and complexes where we see what the landscaping is, but they've shown us the landscaping. So what would be the part of the code that requires them to come back and get sign off from you guys?
Yeah, so the way that the condition reads right now is that we are asking for a rendering of this patio to be included in the site plan, either as on a detail sheet or on a separate page. The way that the note reads is that we would just be looking for those 3 elements that I listed earlier, but of course that configuration might change as they tweak the design and then put it on that detail sheet, so it's still fairly vague, and they still have some design changes that they can make.
So all it really
Yeah.
is just to complete the Mylars and be done with it.
Well,
Well,
just so Barbara
yeah.
knows, the reason we're here is because note number 33 said a clubhouse had to be built, and that's
Mhm.
why we didn't get the final
Yeah.
CO. So this would have to be built, and they'd have to see it to get the final CO.
Exactly,
So there's still
yeah.
a
Okay.
tie to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we'll
so-
be
I was just
on
trying
the
to
site.
clarify
That's what I thought, yep.
where all this was coming from.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
where it is.
I'm-
Note 33 says they have to have it. They're holding one CO. That's why we're here.
But yeah, we'll be at the site to make sure this improvement is actually completed.
I'll send Ms. Healy. Mrs. Dano, do you have a
Sorry,
question?
sorry to belabor this. Obviously, the topography kind of drops off at the end. If someone was on the edge of this patio and were to trip and fall, they're not going to fall down the hill?
It's a 3, I'll check the slope, but I'm pretty sure it's a 3-to-1 slope. So
Okay.
we can mow it.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
There's also a fence.
Okay.
We do,
Fence doesn't show.
we do have a pending motion. Do we
Yep.
have any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion passing, say aye.
All right.
Aye. All opposed? All abstaining. That is 6-1-0 with Mr. Disco voting in the negative.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Peterson, thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.
Item number 5 of tonight's agenda. I'll give it a few minutes to let the room clear out. I'm not used to people being here.
And the simmer down.
On to item number 5, which is discussion, possible action regarding other items of concern. Casey, do you have anything for us tonight?
Nope, I have nothing for you guys tonight.
Nothing from Casey. Does anybody else wish to raise other items of concern? Nothing. On to the next one, which is approval of minutes from the meeting of August 2nd, 2022. Do we have any edits proposed to these minutes?
No.
Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I'll move to accept the minutes as submitted.
Motion made by Mr. Disco. Do we hear a second? Seconded by Ms. Healy. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstaining? That's 7-0-0, Casey. On to item number 7. Do we hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved to
Chairman.
adjourn by Mr. Disco, seconded by Ms. Healy. Do I hear any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstaining? That's 7-0-0 to adjourn. Thank you, members. Please make sure to turn off your microphones.
Good point.